Welcome to the Acupuncture Marketing School podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Grassick, and I'm here to help you get visible in your community, take marketing action with confidence, and get more patients in your practice and more money in your pocket every week. We both know you're a talented, passionate acupuncturist and that acupuncture has the power to change lives. So let's dive right into this episode and talk about how you can reach more patients. Welcome back. Today I'm joined by Brett Chakowski and Connor O'Rourke, co-founders of Middle Way Marketing, a digital marketing agency that specializes in healthcare practices. They help businesses like ours with Google Ads, social media advertising, website design, video, and much more. I asked Brett and Connor to share their insights on running effective Google Ads, and we also ended up having a really helpful discussion on website design, what works, what doesn't, and what you need in place before running ads. In this episode, we cover the must-haves before running Google Ads to ensure success, website do's and don'ts, whether or not you plan to advertise, a surprising place they recommend putting contact forms on your site, how to choose the right keywords for Google Ads, average monthly ad budgets and cost per click in our industry, why customer lifetime value matters when calculating ROI, how long it typically takes to optimize Google Ads, and more. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Connor and Brett. Today's episode is brought to you by Jane, a clinic management software and EMR. We all know that choosing the right EMR can feel a bit overwhelming, especially when you're just starting out. You're trying to juggle both your practice needs and your budget, and that's not always the easiest combination. That's why Jane came up with the new Balance Plan. It includes the essential features you need to keep things running smoothly in your clinic without the extra stuff you don't. One-on-one telehealth, unlimited support, email reminders, and more are included no matter which plan you choose. So if you're looking for an EMR that helps you focus on your patients, not your costs, Jane is here for you, just like a part-time assistant. Plans start as low as $39 a month in the US. Visit jane.app/pricing to learn more. And if you're ready to get started, you can use my code AcuSchool1MO at sign up for a 1-month grace period on your new account. I'll put the link and the code in the show notes for you. All right, let's dive into this episode with Google Ads experts, Brett and Connor. Hi, Brett. Hi, Connor. How are you today?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I am so happy to be here with you today. My audience of acupuncturists has lots of questions about Google Ads in particular, but also always wondering how to do marketing well, questions about social media and social media advertising. Before we dive in, I will give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves.
My name's Brett Chakowski. I currently live in Boston, although I'm doing this interview from bright and sunny and warm California. And I'm originally from California, but I've lived all over the world. And I met Connor in Austin, which is where we started our business together, Middle Way Marketing.
Yeah, I'm Connor O'Rourke. I'm still in Austin. Brett and I met at UT Business School and started Middle Way Marketing, a digital marketing agency solely focused on the healthcare space. So doctors, acupuncturists, med spas, weight loss clinics, we help them through digital marketing efforts. And yeah, I've been in Austin for about 10 years now, and we've been running Middle Way for almost 6.
Very nice. I'm so curious, what made you choose the name for your business, Middle Way?
So the story is that we were discussing, starting a business. We talked about in business school how cool it would be to work at an agency, and ad agencies, like traditional ad agencies, aren't really hiring a lot of MBAs. At least in our experience, they weren't really recruiting MBAs. So we went to work for marketing departments at big companies right out of school. And we always thought, it would be cool someday to have a marketing agency, to do our own thing. But it was kind of one of those conversations that you just have with friends, and that you think like, oh man, like that'll never pan out. Connor approached me at, I don't even remember the name of the place now, Connor, but I know it was a tiki bar in downtown Austin. We had a drink there, and he said, yeah, I have this idea. I think that there's a huge need in digital marketing in health and wellness, and cash pay services in particular. So anyway, the long-winded way of getting to the part where we're starting the company and we need to come up with a name. We're like, what are we going to call it? And the discussion was Connor just thinking out loud, like, well, what is it about marketing that I like? He kept going back to like the balance of like, we get to work with creative people, but you also get to do things with data and have a scientific approach to things. So kind of like there's like art and science involved in marketing. And so we started talking about how there's like kind of balance. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Cambodia, and even before that had been learning about Buddhism and mindfulness and meditation. And I knew of this of the middle path or the middle way. And then, as stupid as this is, but just like very simple, like marketing, like alliterations are kind of catchy. So if you can have an alliteration, it's easier to remember. And so middle and marketing, both starting with M, and just the kind of flowed middle way. And there's like balance in the middle way. And there's also balance in what Connor and I like about marketing, which is, the creativity and the data, the art and the science. So all those things kind of combined landed us on middle way marketing.
And I'm sure that resonates with the acupuncturists in the audience, because acupuncture tends to be all about balance, right? And restoring balance to the body.
Totally.
And I am so happy to hear you say that, because that is also why I love marketing. And I try to explain it to people sometimes. I'm like, marketing it's creative, and then you have all this data, you get to combine them, and they're just kind of like, that's nice.
Yeah.
But I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there's something for me interesting about the challenge of doing something that's quote unquote artistic, but then making it informed by what you think will actually work and the information that you have. So, yeah, it's kind of this like interesting like little middle ground between something purely scientific and something purely artistic. So, I find that interesting, trying to walk that line.
Yes. Yeah, and I noticed on your website you also mentioned the balance of storytelling with data. And I think that approaching marketing from a storytelling angle makes it easier for people to digest when they are not huge fans of marketing. It's a way of thinking about it that is pretty instantly understandable. It's not always easy to craft your marketing story, right? That's the artistic part, but I think it does help people, give them a new perspective on it, which is really nice.
Yeah, well, I think people learn through stories. And I've heard recently, I can't remember where it was, but something in my algorithm somewhere in the internet said to me that stories sell. And I think that just comes down to the way that we learn as kids. We learn through stories. And so and I don't know if it's necessarily like stories sell, but it's easy to learn through a story if you have the context. And so if you understand something, it's much easier to buy it, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that we talked about over email before jumping on today was this concept that is really core to running ads, that you have to have strong marketing foundations in place to begin with before running ads. Because I asked my audience, what questions do you have about Google Ads for some experts that I'm interviewing pretty shortly? And they had lots of great questions, but most of those questions were not about the foundational concepts of marketing, like who are you speaking to? What is your message? What does your landing page look like? Do you have a specific landing page for your ads? So yeah, I would love to talk about, what's important to have set up for your marketing before you start trying to drive traffic with ads.
I'll step in here. So to begin with, we always want to start with a website. So believe it or not, there are a lot of businesses out there that don't even have a website. Now, those that are asking about Google Ads probably have one, but then the next question is it a professionally done website? If someone were to land on that website, whether they directly typed it in because someone referred them, or they got a business card, or they searched for it and they found it on a Google ad or through SEO efforts, when they land on there, are they going to be convinced to come in and receive service from that business? So yeah, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves and just talk about Google Ads. We do want to set the foundation. So this is really what we were just talking about. So it's storytelling and it's creativity. So is the website well designed? Does it look nice? Is it modern? Is it convincing? And when it comes to being convincing, is there a good story? Who are you? And so all the practices we work with are human beings that for the most part are actually like touching their patients. And so it's very personal. And so these potential patients, so people that see you online, really do need to feel comfortable driving 10, 15, 20 minutes to your location to ultimately receive treatment. And so that's really where we start. We call it the digital storefront. That is your website. So if your physical practice, hopefully that's a nice room, it's a nice building or set of rooms. Hopefully you have nice branding outside and it's in a nice part of town. And then online, same thing. Hopefully it's well designed. It really speaks to who you are or who your team is, and then it can educate potential patients, website visitors, on all the different services that you offer and why they may even want to consider such a service. So that really is the foundational piece. Beyond that, there's social media. So I know a lot of your audience did ask about Google Ads, but there's also social media. Acupuncturists, and again, everyone we work with, whether they're doctors or med spas or weight loss clinics, we are in a very visual space. Like we have a lot of opportunity to capture images and videos about what service is being provided to, again, further educate these visitors, these potential patients on what a service treatment might look like. What does the treatment room look like? What does the service provider look like? Again, am I, the potential patient, willing to drive to this location? So that's really the setup, is posting frequently on social media, making sure that we're getting a nice behind the scenes look at the practice and that it looks very professional and welcoming. And then the website is very educational, again, modern build, descriptive, all of your services have unique pages. And then when we have those foundational pieces, we can move on to some of the more analytical, which you brought up, which would be Google Ads.
Gotcha. Do you have suggestions for maybe what are red flags that indicate to you that a website is not professional enough? Because a lot of acupuncturists are doing like a DIY website and they're truly doing their best, but it can be tough. So is there anything that they should try to avoid? I know this is such a broad question.
I'm sure there's a lot. I'm sure Connor probably has even more than me. But I just want to say that when we started our business, we also did a DIY website on Squarespace. So it's not that we're not saying that that's unreasonable. What we're saying is that if you want to run Google Ads and you want to draw strangers in to your business, then you have to be prepared to speak to a stranger that doesn't know you. Like if someone knows you and they come to your website because they've been referred by a friend, then the bar is probably a little bit lower for what they need to see. But if you're trying to attract strangers, then that's where you need that professional foundation that Connor was describing. So yeah, we started with a DIY website. So there's nothing wrong with that, but I'll just rattle off some red flags that I have seen. Like Connor mentioned, like service pages. Like if you just have just one page of services and it's listing everything out, that's not descriptive enough. You need some FAQs with some answers, like common questions that you're getting. Ideally, you have different types of content on the page about that individual service. So if you have different like packages or different programs, you can break those out into separate pages. No call to action that's clear at the top of the website is a big one. If you have the phone number buried at the bottom of the page and not at the top, so where someone can click easily, you want people to be able to find information very quickly. There's kind of like a hierarchy to information when someone scans through a website. So you've got your menu, and then you've got a call to action, and then on the home page you've got like your first kind of short description of who you are, and then it maybe goes into more detail on the About Us page. So those are a few things that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a ton more, just like a broken link, like if you go to the contact page and the map isn't pulling in correctly and you're just getting like that little error image. So just like general like tidy and upkeep. Connor, did you have any other big ones?
Yeah. So Brett mentioned breaking out the services into unique pages opposed to having every service listed on one. Speaking of those services pages, they should be visual. So, quote unquote bad websites would just have a block of text. So you click on the page and it's super text heavy. I mean, just put yourself in the shoes of, again, a potential patient, just a stranger. This day and age, we're used to listening to podcasts or watching movies, videos, and we read really short snippets, bullet points, or as Brett mentioned, FAQs. So if you just have a block of text, even if it's broken out onto an individual services page, but it's just a block of text with no visual, that should certainly be updated. I understand if your clients don't have the budget or the know-how to create a video, but certainly with all of our smartphones these days, you can take some relatively high quality pictures and put them on your website, which is my second point, and that is the website personalized? If you're just using generic imagery, again, that's not going to be convincing. You're not serving people through the phone. They need to be convinced to drive to your location. They need to know who you are, what this place looks like. So a general setup would be a nice homepage, which is just in general what this business is about. An About Us page, which is a little bit more personal, like the actual human being, the practitioners. Services pages. So whatever kind of services you offer, break them out into individual pages. All of these should have at least photos, if you can't do videos, and then a contact us page so that it's very clear where the location is. The last piece, which is still pretty easy these days, even if you're working on Wix or Squarespace, if you don't want to hire someone like Middle Way Marketing to do a super professional website, Wix and Squarespace are our suggestions. You can also include Google testimonials and reviews that kind of scroll through the bottom of the page. I believe both Wix and Squarespace do have a plugin for that. So just convincing people, hey, look at all these other people that have been here, and they all are leaving 5-star reviews. You can even update the widget so only the 5-star reviews display on your website. So those are all the main recommendations, I would say.
So it sounds like in a perfect world, you would recommend a video of each service on each service page, if possible.
Absolutely. If you have the time, the know-how, or the budget, absolutely. That's how people are convinced to come into these types of practices over a competitor. One, it's like you. Oh, go for it, Brett.
I was going to add one thing to the video comment. It's nice to have a video and images and then the content broken out in different ways, because part of the search engine ranking, so for your SEO, we haven't touched on SEO yet, but just because it's relevant here, the time on page is recorded for the search engine ranking. So if you have different types of content that speak to different types of people, then you're more likely to capture people on your page for a little bit longer. So if you have someone who likes watching videos instead of reading bullet points, then you got them. And if you have someone who likes scanning through FAQs rather than reading a paragraph, then you have them. And so the longer the time on the page, the higher you're going to go up in the search rankings. So there's other components to it as well, but providing the information in different ways is beneficial, and that's why we try to have a video for each service if we can.
Gotcha. And this is slightly off topic, but when we are embedding videos on our website, we probably want to have them hosted by YouTube but pulled onto our website. So because I am afraid people will host them on their own websites, and that makes it load very slowly. Is that right?
Yeah. We host on Vimeo.
Okay. Just any outside source.
Yeah, YouTube is very common as well.
Gotcha.
We've been using Vimeo for a long time. It has a very nice business, what do I want to say? Like a business account, and then we can have everything very well organized. I'm sure YouTube has all the same stuff. We just happen to use Vimeo. I think when we started building websites and hosting videos, Vimeo was more user friendly from the business, like an agency aspect. So that's why we have Vimeo, but YouTube is totally fine.
I guess my next question, and this sort of relates to some of the questions that people had submitted. So would a service page be sufficient as a landing page for Google Ads, or would landing pages want to be more specific to symptoms?
Great question. Great segue. I hate this word or set of words, but I will say it depends. Ideally, you do want to drive people to your website. So your landing page is your services page on your website. But it does need to be set up correctly. So The main feature of a landing page versus maybe your typical services page is the call to action that Brett mentioned earlier. So you can set up all of your pages this way. And that is to have a form. So you type in your name, like Connor O'Rourke. Here's my number and my email, and this is the service I'm interested in. Hit enter, and then you'll either get an email or you may have a CRM, like we offer our clients a CRM that makes managing leads very easy. Anyway, you would go into that system or an email, also the phone number, all right at top. And when I say up top, I mean before you scroll. You should not need to scroll. Right when you land on the page, it should note what the page is about. So I'm in Austin, Texas, so it'd be like Austin Acupuncturist and specializing in fill in the blank, and then a form with a phone number right at top. And then as you scroll, you get more information. So bullet points, ideally a video, but at least a picture, frequently asked questions. So a services page would suffice. It is, our advice is to drive people to a website. That's because Google prefers to drive people to a website. And the secondary reason is if they click on an ad and they get driven to that services page on your website, then they have the ability to click onto other services pages. A lot of these patients don't actually know what they need. They think they might know, and so they go onto one page only to, you know what, I like this website. This is nice. Let me click around a little bit. Oh, maybe I'm more interested in this service. Whereas if you drive people to a landing page, the definition of a landing page is that it's separate from the website. It is an individual page. You cannot click around the website. It's not a website. It is a single landing page. And so you don't give them an opportunity to click around the website. There are pros and cons. If you only want to sell one thing, then you don't want people to be able to click around the website. You just want them to fill out that form or call that number. But yeah, our advice is to drive them to a services page on the website like the one I just described.
And
Gotcha.
I think you're going to ask about this. Sorry, not to cut you off, but you'll probably ask about it. Another aspect is that in our industry, sometimes keywords will get blocked by Google. Like they won't allow, like for speculative health treatments that aren't like officially approved by the FDA. There's a big debate about what's actually like good for you or not. That's like approved by the FDA or not. But that can cause us to use a landing page in some cases where we want to keep the website mentioning these words that Google doesn't approve of for whatever reason, but we want to advertise a specific thing. And so we need to change the language. And so we might use a landing page. So we use the language that will get approved. And that's a rare case and not ideal, but that is another case where you would use a landing page rather than just the services page.
God, would that be for like certain weight loss treatments? I could imagine maybe they'd be hard to advertise.
Yeah, and stem cell stuff.
Okay.
ERP, even Botox. And so nothing I can think of for acupuncturists specifically, but the general idea is Google's not just saying you can't advertise that one treatment. You can't advertise anything if that treatment is on the website. And so we'll have clients that go, well, I don't want to remove that from my website. Okay, well, then we'll create a landing page that does not include any language about that treatment, stem cells, PRP, some weight loss drugs, etc.
Gotcha. And so it sounds like you're recommending on the services, on each service page on your website, to have that opt-in form where they can put their information.
Yes,
Gotcha.
right at the top.
If you're
It's
running
called-
an ad, if you're running an ad to that page, yeah.
Okay. But what about if you're not running ads? You wouldn't.
It's still best practice. It doesn't look quite as normal. That definitely looks more like a landing page. But hey, what do we want out of this website? What do we want out of a landing page, out of anything? We want people to call or fill out a form. We want them to show that their interest, and we want to be able to speak to them. And it's this day and age, like you're just supposed to, best practices, you're supposed to put that form and that phone number, the call to action, do this, so that we can reach out right at the top, so the top of the fold. So yeah, you should do that regardless of if you're running ads. You can make a button instead, like book now or schedule a free consultation button. So if you don't like the look of that big form at the top, and you can have a little button. When you click it, it drives to a separate page on your website where that form does exist, like the contact us page. You could say book a free consultation or schedule a call. Click that button, and yeah, it takes you to a new page. If you like that cleaner look, you don't like the look of that form sitting right at the top.
That was going to be my next question is, could we just have the book now button at the top of the page and have it go to the online schedule? I suppose the risk is that people get to the online schedule, and if they don't do anything, then you haven't collected their information.
Correct. And then you need to make sure that book now button is very prominent. It shouldn't just simply, like a lot of people want to, for aesthetic reasons, just match the color of the website, but sometimes that gets lost. And so that form, you're not going to miss that form. It's a big part of the page that you just landed on. The book now button may be too small. It may be a color that kind of blends in with the rest of the website, and people might just miss it. And yeah, these calls to action need to be just very clear.
Okay. I guess probably the number one question that people sometimes they'll ask me for my experience with my Google ads, which I have like a tiny bit of experience, but they always want to know how much it's going to cost them per month. And I have a really hard time answering this question because it depends on a lot of factors, right? It depends on whether other people in your area are also running ads. I just think it's a complicated question.
It is. You use the word that I'm sure a lot of audience members don't want to hear, which is it depends. But I would like to describe why it depends. And I also want to just briefly describe the difference between SEO and Google Ads, if you think that your audience would enjoy that.
Sure.
A lot of people think they know what SEO is, or maybe they're just afraid to admit that they don't. But I'll just break it down very simply. So SEO is search engine optimization, and the goal of that service that we and other marketing agencies provide is to have your website show up on a Google search, ideally on the first page, without paying Google. So how great does that sound? So the answer for that would, how much does it cost, is it's $0 for ad spend. Now you can try and do it on your own. It would be quite difficult, I would say. Brett and I don't even know how to do it. We have employees that know how to do it. So you would hire an agency to do it at a relatively low cost, but you would not have to pay Google. There's pros and cons of SEO and Google ads. The pro is the price, so it's affordable. There's no ad spend. The con, so to speak, is it does take time. You need to be a bit patient. Conversely, Google ads, it's the opposite. So the pro is the time. We can get you at to the top of the Google page very quickly, like within 2 weeks, like most agencies would be able to say that. But the con is we have to pay Google. We have to pay them. And so to answer your question, it does depend, but I'll break out why. You already mentioned it. Google is a bidding platform. And so if there's a lot of competitors bidding on the same keywords, such as Acupuncturist Austin, then it's going to be more expensive. If there's no one bidding on those keywords, then it's going to be cheaper. It's priced by click, so cost per click is something you may have heard and the audience here may have heard. It does fluctuate, and we're typically seeing the cost per click somewhere between, usually it's like $2 to $7. It's frankly usually between $5 and $7. We do have clients that have to spend over $20. I have like an eye doctor in mind that advertises cataract surgery that is over $20. But folks in this field are looking at somewhere around $5 a click. And so if you break out your budget and you want to view it, then you would divide it by 30 or 31 to get the daily budget. And then you want to think through, like, how many people do I need clicking on my website to see a conversion? And it's usually, several times. So it's not going to be common that everyone that clicks is going to go, oh my God, I'm definitely coming in here. I want to receive service. That's just not how the world works. So we want to get at least 3, 4, 5 plus clicks a day. And so 3 clicks at $5 is $15 a day. you're basically looking in general at something like $20 a day. So that is an absolute, and that's minimum I'm talking about, minimum. And so that's around $600 a month. We like to spend at least 1,000 just to be sure that we can spend that money. Oftentimes, we'll run into clients that have been trying to do this on their own, and their story is, I'm trying to spend on Google. Like, I'm not even able to spend my budget, though. I'm confused. Like, I've plugged in that I have a $500 budget, but like this last month, I was still left with $280. And so the issue is this: they might have a $10 budget per day, and the click is $6. So the next click is $6, but you only have $4 left in your budget. So you can't even generate that second click. So they just won't spend it. So then you're left with $4. And it's a daily budget. So that is certainly an issue, as a lot of people are unfortunately underspending. I'm sure people don't want to hear that, but they are underspending. It's still not crazy expensive. We're talking in this space, acupuncturists, like $500,000 a month, I would say, is a fair estimate, around $1,000. And the other trap people fall into is calculating their ROI just based off of that month and saying, okay, cool, I spent $1,000. I brought in a patient or two each week, but I only made $800, or maybe you made $1,000 and it was just kind of flat. Well, but what's the lifetime value? We're bringing in strangers. These are people that are just clicking and learning about you for the first time. How often does your typical client actually come in? And that's something that a lot of folks in this space don't do. They don't actually know their customer lifetime value. You can just even estimate it if you don't want to get the exact number, but just in general, when someone comes in to receive their first treatment, well, how many times does the typical client actually continue to come in? 5 times, 6 times, 7 times? And then that's really the ROI. You don't make it back all in that first month, but over time, you have collected a lot of money from that patient that clicked on that Google ad.
Yeah, and that is a really good point. And I think that probably most acupuncturists could go into their EHR software and find some reports. Like if they, for anyone listening, I'm sure if you dig around, you can pull out like what did you call it? The average lifetime?
Yeah, customer lifetime value.
Customer lifetime value. Yeah, and it's probably called something slightly different inside inside the EHR, but I know that I have a software called Jane, and that's certainly something that I can find. It will bring up when I log in on the dashboard, like the top 10 patients who are spending the most. And then if you kind of pursue that report, it will show you like, okay, well, here's the rest of the pack. Here's what most people are spending. So it's something that they can find. When I was running my
certainly
Google
true.
ads, yeah. When I was running my ads, I think I was spending $660 a month, and I felt like I was breaking even, but I also had some trouble like really measuring the conversion and knowing like, did this person just do a Google search or did they actually come from the ad? One thing I recall is that the AI inside the Google ads was always telling me to increase my budget. Like every time I would log in, it would be like, if you add another $200 to your budget, you'll get a 47% increase in conversion. And I just didn't believe it. I was like, you just want my money. And the only way to know if it's actually true is to put your money into it, right? And so I ended up pausing the ads because it felt like a good time for a break anyway. And I would say I had a relatively good experience with Google Ads for someone in my industry. But I mean, to hear you say it's between 500 and 1,000, that's right where Google was trying to put me, right? I would have been about 880. And when I talk to people in the industry, usually if they're willing to tell me their spend, it's around 800. So it sounds like maybe a little bit more would help with conversions, would help the Google ads do their job properly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a huge fear.
So what we do, so if you were to hire a professional, you would get some sort of strategy document. And what we do is we present you with options. Based off of our experience and based off of our research using primarily Google Analytics, we think that if you spend this, you will get this. And if you spend more, then you'll get this. Ultimately, it takes 2 to 3 months to optimize a campaign, which I think was another question of yours. Yeah, it does take, we say 2 to 5 months. I mean, really, it certainly is at least 2, maybe 3 months. And in more complex cases, a couple more months. But like 2 to 3 months in general. The optimization does take place pretty much daily. We go like every other day. We can get really into the nitty gritty in terms of what that means. If you want later, I certainly can do that. But ultimately, what you need to do is test. So if you didn't hire an agency and you just wanted to try things out, then I would say, all right, if Google's recommending another $200, yes, you're right in thinking, well, they're incentivized to say that. They want your money, but also maybe there's some truth behind that. And so let me try it. Let me compare the first couple months when I was spending $550, and now let me use $800 and see if there was a difference. It's a few $100s. It's worth the test because there could be some pretty big upside.
Gotcha. Yeah. How do you recommend that people track conversions? I know this is such a loaded question.
So it is difficult, and I apologize. I'm answering a lot of these questions just to level set. Middle Way, we do a lot of different things. And we do videography, social media, website design, SEO, and I am predominantly working in the Google Ads where Brett is doing other things. So that's why I'm kind of stealing the conversation here.
I don't mind.
But yeah, Brett doesn't mind. So attribution is tough in marketing. Now, digital marketing, it's a little bit easier than, say, where I started before business school, which is television marketing. So I worked at NBC Sports, and you're really just getting a report on the average number of viewers using a Nielsen report. It's not even saying this is exactly the number of people. This is the number of people we think viewed, and this is the demographic we think viewed. And after that, it's like there was no way to purchase, watching a TV ad. So you don't actually know the value. Digital marketing, you can click something, and therefore we can track it. But it is hard to really fully attribute a sale to a certain marketing tactic. It's usually multiple. Ultimately, you would want either a CRM or a nice way, just on an Excel sheet or something, tracking those form fills. And even then, so if someone fills out a form, then it goes into your CRM or you get an email. You go, okay, well, this person found me on my website. Now, if you're running Google Ads and you're just driving them to your services page, just your normal website services page, then you don't know if someone typed in your URL directly, if they didn't click on the ad, but you have good SEO and they just clicked on another link that landed on that page, or a Google ad. It will be difficult to tell. You could have a phone number and you could have a tracking number. And so if someone were to, again, land on just your services page on your website, it still wouldn't tell you the story. If you really wanted to track, then you would actually use the landing page that we spoke about earlier. So the landing page often, if not always, is not searchable outside of the ad. So the only way to land on that landing page is through the Google ad. And then you have a unique tracking number for that ad, a unique form for that ad, so you're positive that this person came through the ad. You have to weigh how important that attribution is versus what we spoke about earlier, driving them to a website so they could click around. Maybe they end up, interested in another service. So there certainly are pros and cons. You can try and attribute it as much as possible, but you could also be posting on social media and they found you there. And then they went on to Google and just searched your name and they filled out that form. And you could say, oh, it was the Google ad. Well, in reality, you got their attention on social media. So it's not a perfect science. This is obviously the scientific part. And so, yeah, there's pros and cons of breaking out all of your campaigns super specifically so that you can attribute. But frankly, most of our clients don't do that. But we could if y'all wanted.
There's other things too, like you could put how did you hear about us on the form. and just keep a simple track record that way when people are filling out the form. And then another very simple thing is just in your intake process, when someone walks in, you train your front desk to just always ask how they heard about you. That can be really powerful information because you're just talking to every single person that walks through the door. And if you're very systematic about it, that'll give you a good idea of how people are viewing your business and how people are getting to your business. So, yeah, attribution may be the most difficult thing in our business.
Yeah, when I was running my ads, there was, at the time, it seems to come and go, but there was free Google Ads help. Like there was this company that was contracting with Google Ads, and so you
They're
could
still
sign
doing
up.
that. I get those calls all the time.
Okay, yes, I still get them actually. But it's like, it's available sometimes and then it disappears. But they did help me install tracking on all the Book Now buttons for my website, and that helped, but it still didn't measure directly if the person made an appointment. Because you could click a Book Now button and decide not to make an appointment. But then my Google ads were very happy. They would be like, you had 57 clicks. I'm like, well, I didn't have 57 new patients this month. So I think, I mean, obviously that doesn't mean that people shouldn't use Google ads. It's just something to know before you begin that attribution, it can be difficult in any kind of marketing, and that includes Google ads. One question I'm dying to ask is about using health-related keywords, because people are always asking me, I want to run Google ads for specific symptoms like arthritis. Arthritis seems to be one that people are afraid is going to get flagged, or back pain or neck pain. And I used those keywords in my ads, and they were fine. But then other people get flagged for them. So I don't know what are the regulations? How do they decide?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a tricky one, but I would think that those clients of yours or listeners that weren't able to run the same words or use the same keywords that you were using might have things on their actual website that are restricting the ad. Again, that kind of goes back to what we were saying before. You can run, they'll block ads that have nothing to do with the restricted word if that restricted word is anywhere on the landing page or the website.
Gotcha.
Like neck pain for sure should not be restricted. That would be an issue with the rest of your website. And Google will also tell you why it's restricted. Maybe it's a little bit difficult to understand some of their language, but if you dive into it, you should be able to figure out like what's going on with this ad, and they usually give suggestions as to how to improve it. But in general, yes, you should be using those words. Really what you should be doing though is saying, okay, I think people are searching for arthritis, and I have a service that can help with that. So I want to run a Google ad for that. The real next step is to go into Google Analytics or another platform and do your keyword research to figure out, well, what are people actually searching for? Maybe you're wrong and they're not actually typing in arthritis and they're typing in some other set of words that have to do with that. So that's what we do. That's our first step is, what do you want to market? What's the service that you really want to sell? Okay, we're going to go in and do our research and figure out what people are actually typing in. And then we're going to bid on those keywords. And then the optimization is over the next 2 to 3 months, we're monitoring. Are people actually searching for that? Are they searching for other things? And after about 2 or 3 months, you usually kind of hone in on exactly what people are in fact searching for.
I guess my next question then is, when you say what people are actually searching for, I always think to myself, do people know that they need acupuncture? Do they even know that acupuncture can help with XYZ? So sometimes they're searching for like natural solutions for arthritis, right? And so a lot of people will run ads for acupuncture for arthritis. So it sounds like you're saying they should dig in and figure out, what are people putting in? What's their target market actually looking for and aware of? And that
Yeah.
can be a better method. Okay.
Yeah, so if you would bid on natural services for arthritis, natural solutions for arthritis, and you would run an ad against those keywords.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
oftentimes, even if you're not providing a service for exactly what they're searching for, you can have a unique landing page or a page on your website. Oftentimes, these pages can be hidden. So I don't want to get too into the nitty gritty, but you can have separated services pages on your website where that unique kind of separate page is not searchable, but it's still on your website. So, someone could be searching for some sort of medication to deal with arthritis, right? You don't offer that. You're an acupuncturist. You don't offer medication, but you offer acupuncture. So you could run an ad against those keywords, though, and have your page describe how acupuncture is actually the better path to take than going down the path of taking medication. And this is why. So that is another technique for sure that you can use. And ultimately, you want to be running ads against keywords that the majority of people are searching for. And then you just need to convince them that your service is the right fit. Ultimately, in the example I just used, is they really just want a solution to arthritis. But in this fake example, most people think they need medication. Well, we're here to kind of educate them on the landing page or website that no, they don't need medication. They need acupuncture, and this is why.
And this is why it's so important for people to know their target market and their ideal patient, like into the nitty gritty of the, like, what are their values? What's their struggle? What's the outcome they want? What are the options they're considering? I think there are some areas of the country, like I'm in a pretty small town in like upstate New York, and people sort of know about acupuncture. There used to be an acupuncture school here, so people are generally familiar, but I still have to do a ton of patient education about like acupuncture really works. Why would I use that? Like basic level. Whereas I think even in California always comes to my mind, where maybe their ideal client really is searching acupuncture for fertility, right? So it depends on the person and their awareness of acupuncture. And so I hope everyone listening is going to dig into their target market and ideal patient worksheets after this. You can find them online. There's tons of free ones everywhere.
It really varies across the country on how people
Yeah.
search and like their education level, for example. So you really have to think about, it's tough in this industry. I think people think of digital marketing online and they just like think that it's everybody, but you're a physical location. So you really just have to think about people in your area. Like,
Right.
that can, the radius around your business of how far people are willing to drive can vary. So you can kind of know that, like, for example, we have a customer in Iowa, and Iowa's like very big and flat, and there's a lot of space. Like, people are willing to drive very far, so we have a very wide radius for where we advertise there. But in New York, you might have a super small radius because people aren't willing to travel that far because there's so many options just right down the street. I'm thinking of New York City, but anyway, just think about your local area and think about the people in your area. Marketing is all about speaking to your customer, speaking to your audience. It's a conversation. So you have to think about, okay, who am I talking to in my area? And like you said, like, what do they care about? What are their values? So that, like, the persona, the customer persona, it's an important exercise if you haven't done it, if you aren't thinking that way. But that just gets back to like what people are searching. We don't actually know what people are searching in your specific town until we run the Google ads. And then we look and we see, okay, so we come in with theories and we test those theories. We can run a very broad campaign and then see what people are searching and then do that optimization. What Connor's talking about, okay, I don't want that keyword. Like, that one showed up and someone searched it. No one's clicking. That's not relevant. I can see why Google tried to serve my ad for that keyword, but it's not relevant for me. Negative keyword. I'm not going to show up. I don't want to show up for that one anymore. And so over time, that's where Connor was saying you optimize and you hone in because you're seeing the actual results come back. So there's a lot of testing at the beginning of a campaign to see what people are actually searching in your specific area. And like you said, like, it varies from area to area in the country and from city to city, what people are actually looking for. So it's a testing thing. And again, it's that words that Connor doesn't like. It depends.
I was just thinking that in my head. I'm like, so it depends.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's the truth, though.
there's basically like general concepts and general best practices. I think we've covered pretty well, but then fine tuning that for your business, it depends on what people are searching.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. I know I kept you so much longer than I said I would, but I just
Oh no,
realized that there's so much important info to cover. And we didn't even get to like two-thirds of the questions. That's okay. Maybe we could do this again sometime.
sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be super. I do have one more question for you both, and that is, what is your definition of success?
Okay, I'll go first. My definition of success, I'll start with like for middle way marketing, and maybe I'm stealing this from Connor, I don't know, but I like it anyway. We're partners, so it doesn't matter. I want to create a business that can run on its own without any one individual. You know, you start a small business and you realize quickly, like, I'm relying on this person or I'm relying on myself for this aspect. And what I would like to do with middle way marketing is get it to a size where any one person leaves, then the business can keep running. We're close to that now after 5 years. And so that's one, just to create an entity that kind of lives on its own. And two is just like a nice environment for people to work at, that where they know that we as the employers care about them and we want them to have a good work-life balance and be excited about the work and enjoy the people that they work with. So it's kind of a vague way to say a nice company culture, I guess. But like, yeah, those are the two things that come to mind for success for me. What about you, Connor? I think I took those from you.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I definitely agree with that with regard to middle way, and I'll kind of segue and say the other aspect of leading a successful company is the ability to deliver results for our clients. So that's true of an acupuncturist and all of our clients too. They want to do the same thing. When someone comes into the office, they want the patient to walk out feeling like, okay, my issue has been corrected. This was great. We're doing the same thing. It's not always ROI driven, because sometimes we're just building a beautiful website and someone doesn't want Google Ads or SEO. And so it's just our clients, or is the client happy? That really is the definition of success for me. The icing on the cake or the proof in the pudding would be a testimonial, a review, which also your patients or listeners should all be trying to get from their patients. Just proof that they are in fact satisfied with the service, and that's what we aim to do with all of our clients.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you both being here and sharing all of these tips with us. Where can people connect with you online if they want to work with you? How can they find you?
You can find us middlewaymarketing.com, Instagram at middlewaymarketing, send a DM. We're also on Facebook, but we just don't use it as much these days. Instagram is the main platform. But yeah, middlewaymarketing.com. Just, you'll find us there.
Very nice. And I think you have a free consult option on your website, right? So people could visit and then set up an appointment with you. Awesome.
Yep.
Exactly. Absolutely. Would love to.
You sold it better than we did.
I saw that button. I love me a call to action button. So.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, well, thank you both so much.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you. All right, have a good one, Michelle. Bye.
Bye.
Super. Are you struggling to attract more patients and not sure why? A marketing breakthrough session gives you a personalized marketing checkup with expert insights and actionable steps delivered in just 3 days. You'll get a 30-minute screen share video where I walk through your marketing, highlight what's working, and offer tailored suggestions to help you bring in more patients. Sign up today for just $49. The link is in the show notes to learn more and read testimonials. As always, thank you for listening. See you next week.